going, and going, and going. Oh, no. Don't want to do that. There we go. I'm actually going to get out of Reason for now. No. So I don't really need to use it anymore. Don't have to. Let's throw out some serum. Ooh, a little loud. So the scale I'm working with is D Dorian. I don't know why. I watched a video stream and he messed around with it. It sounded kind of cool. So here's a cool tactic. Let's make a MIDI clip. I got my new button for that. I like that. Okay. Here is a fantastic way of doing things. Take every single note. We'll turn down the volume for this, simply because I don't want to hear the note quite yet. So there's our bass note, which is, you know, D1, and I'm going to take every note in the scale, which might be all the white keys. Holy crap, it is. Okay, perfect. Easy as pie. Okay. The best way, in my opinion, if I can get all of them, is to take a note that you're playing and take the arrow key and make it big. Okay. Alright. And I'll just move everything back. Make everything the same size. Move everything back. Make everything the same size. And then what I can do is duplicate, go up an octave, and bring it back. Duplicate, go up an octave, bring it back. And I'll duplicate and I'll bring it down. Cool. Select all, shorten it, fold it, and then kick it back behind. So now I have a starting point to make whatever kind of bass line I want to make. I don't even have to use, I can loop this. And right now I'm in 30 seconds, 128, 1/128. Yeah, I don't want that. I'll scope this out a little. Cool. Let's see what else are we gonna work on here. Let's give it some swell. I guess I could bring it. Oh yeah, it's hella loud. I'm sorry. Okay, next thing we can work, give it some loops, maybe some tops. I like that. Move this up. Put up the drums. Here we go. Take a shaker, shorten it. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Compress it, because that's a drastic change. So the reason why I compress it, because you got this little tiny shaker, and then you got the bigger, bigger shaker, kind of pronounced. But I don't need that to be crazy. It's too piercing, so the compressor helps in the sense that I can bring it down to the level. I can be here. Let me flatten this, and you'll see the difference. That's now the shaker. That's a huge difference between, you know, what it was. And then see, even from here, I can give it some, added some effects, mess around with it. Maybe give it some more give it some saturation or something. I'd rather compress it, leave the output gain alone, and then give it some saturation to boost it up, because then I'm not only driving the sound, but I'm also giving it that saturation, because the compressor, all it's going to do is just bring the volume up, and then adding saturation to a gain, output gain like that, I might as well just add a little extra saturation to it. And just in this instance, I mean, with something so soft with the shaker. I'm going to take my flanger effect called the Jason, which Melton knows all about. Widens it a little bit. Things are loud again. Just take everything. And then now that I have it saturated and flanged, so it's a little bit wide, I can bring the volume back down just to mix it into the rest of the sounds. That way it's not so prominent above everything else. And the shaker's really supposed to be, we're not trying to be Christopher Walken with more cowbell here. It's just let it sit more underneath everything rather than, it's supposed to be kind of the groove to, you know, get people shake rather than be the, you know, it's not the lead vocal here. So, and that's kind of what you do when you mix. You play it, you see where it is in context, and then you stop it, you get your ears fresh again real quick, and then you play it again, and just to make the adjustment and play it again. If it still seems like it's too prominent, bring it down a little bit more. I like it there. So now would be the time, perfect time, to get a little bit of sidechain compression going. That way I can get the kick a little more prominent. I do a lot of this, the commonality processing stuff, the common processing when I'm in the loop stage, because once I get everything glued together, then I can actually arrange everything. You know, I'll throw extra elements and effects and things like that, transitional stuff in a little bit later as I arrange. But if I get the key elements glued together and sounding good together, then they'll be fine once I start arranging things. The only downside to this particular way of processing is that once I arrange things, I have to do minor adjustments depending on which parts sit together with which. Because this is kind of like the loop I'm working on is supposed to be the hook, the everyone's dancing kind of thing. And then once I finally arrange things, I mean, this is going to sit, you know, this timepiece basically is going to sit over here, you know, so I have build up and shit like that still left to do. And once all those sounds get pieced together, there's not a whole lot going on, so they'll actually sound kind of soft. And I even all of that out with, you know, the master compression and all that kind of stuff later. But if they all sit together perfectly fine, the process of once I'm done mixing, the process of mastering will actually get those quieter levels up to match the hook, essentially. I'm doing hand motions, but nobody can see me, so I look like an idiot. Oh, that's right. I was sidechaining. Let's do the glue compressor. Let's bring this up. Since I'm not really using the drums, I'm just going to delete it. Rename this to kick. So I know the hell I'm doing. In fact, I'll color it to the color it's supposed to be. Color the tops. This is tops. This is shaker. Haska. Sure, why not? This I make green. This is going to be baseline. This is just an empty MIDI channel. This is grain pad, and this is the Rhodes. Say ARP riff. There we go. Ooh, getting hungry. I'm gonna have to eat something after this. Alright, so now I can actually properly sidechain. Glue compressor on here. So this is what I mean if I were to take without the kick triggering the side chain, the tops are getting a makeup gain of 4 dB. So when I mix, I keep that in mind. As far as how I'm going to have, you know, some of these when they're not playing with the kick. Oops. So if I'm going to give it some makeup gain even after the side chain, you know, because the threshold I'm bringing it down to 5-6 dB. With the kick, it's giving it 4 or 5 dB of gain reduction, which is fine. I mean, perfectly acceptable at this point. I drag down where I had it mixed before. I just drag it down a little bit, channel wise, channel volume a little bit, because I'm giving the makeup gain in the compressor. I don't really need to do this for the shaker, but I'm going to do it anyway. kind of keep the threshold and the makeup relatively the same. When you're side chaining percussive elements just to get, just kind of push them out of the way of the kick, you want the pump, but you don't want the pump too much. Phrasing on that, sorry. But you want to be able to still hear that kind of groove of the pumping effect. But you don't want to overboard, do it too much. That can cause chafing, which is a serious problem for a lot of pumpers. I'm taking that too far. I'm sorry. It's hard not to. Okay, I'm done. I promise. Lastly, we need to sidechain the bass. Now the bass is a little different. We can, the bass conflicts with the kick, so we can go overboard with that because we don't want them to clash. One thing you can do though is you can multi-band, which is actually a really good idea. And what we can do here is we can let's take the multi-band, let's group it. There we go. Jeez, figure out which button does the grouping. And we'll duplicate this out a couple times, so we have low, mid, highs. High. I'll make this the high. I just use one letter because that's just because I know. OCD about how I label things. Okay. So the split, this is the high split frequency. You can leave that there. The mid, we can leave that there. So this split frequency determines what the thresholds is between each low, mid, high, right? So everything low is below everything below 120. Mid is between the 120 and 250K, or 2500K, excuse me, or 2.5K. Jesus Christ. And then, oh, I used Lord Name's Pain. Whoops. Sorry for you religious people. Yeah, whatever. You can sidechain in multi-band dynamics, so you can, with the lows, we can simply sidechain from the kick, and we can leave the mids and highs alone. And that way we can have our compression simply on that alone. And the one thing, having 3 channels like this, we need to bring all 3 channels down in volume. The fastest way to do that is to go in here, or maybe not. I lied to you. I need to make this the same color too, or otherwise it's going to drive me nuts. And this needs to be yellow. Not the right one. There we go. So we need to take each channel and reduce -6 for both, -9 for 3. So if you have 2 channels, I'll just do it by. If you have 2 channels, the magic number is -6. If you have 3 channels, the magic number is -9. And what that does is it makes it transparent. So it'll be the same volume as originally. So if I take oh, where's my simple meter? Good grief. I got way too many. Way too many max for live devices. Just type in meter. See what I get. There it is. Tom calls him. Awesome dude. So you look at the level of the incoming versus the out. Relatively the same. Could probably do like 9.5 and it would give me yep, there you go. Perfect. So simply put that, because if you have all three channels mixing in at the same time at 0 dB, they all boost the gain for every channel, and it, you know, you don't want that if you want to try and be transparent with some of your some of what you're doing. And then of course, last but not least, we actually need to compress the low end with the kick. So we take this, we have our ratio of let's do 1 to 5 ish, and then the above threshold. Oops. No, that's the high. That's the mid. Where's the low? Oh, I see. My bad. So now we can see the low. Perfect. That's what we want. For those that don't know, the easiest trick to figure out how you want your settings for your compression and all that kind of stuff. So here's your kick waveform, right? It's the exact same kick every time, right? So what you can do is you can select your entire kick sample length, right? And at the very bottom row here, when I hover over it, gives you time selection, and it says start, end, length, right? Well, under that, in parentheses, it says duration, and it gives you a number. It's 386. That's 386 milliseconds. So the entire sample lasts 386 milliseconds. Now the really powerful punch of your kick, right, is within the first 19-20 milliseconds. So with the attack of my the attack settings of my compression, don't open the door, hold on, 1 sec, I was in the middle of a thought. The attack settings of a compressor, you want at least 15 seconds for your attack settings, and then something below the entire length of the kick being what? 3.5. Why is it doing that? So on and so forth. Yes. Anyway. Pausing.